Yeah, not the 24-hour on-call, I would say. I mean, in a way, of course, both are related, but I would like to try to focus on postmortems for now. And I'm happy to discuss if I have a wrong opinion on that postmortems are not heroic or whatever. That's it. Just like for my feeling, I have the feeling that on-call is way more the heroic thing than postmortems are. And yeah, maybe I start with the few slides I created. So we have kind of the same foundation to talk about. Yeah, this right tab. Yeah, obviously. Oh no, my computer is slow. It takes a while. Wait, can you see my screen? No.
Yes.
It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. All right.
It's here. It's arrived.
Nice. Yeah, I already have a load of 10 and 98 degrees on my CPU. So yeah. So yeah, I mean, stating the obvious, I guess most of you know, postmortem is part of this kind of flow. We operate the things that we're kind of developing, and yeah, it's here you can see we're operating, we monitor, we get alerted, then we create a postmortem, and then kind of it gets planned into the development process, right? And so a little bit of history. When we started, we were just, we didn't have team on calls. We were just a way smaller team. In the beginning, even didn't have teams, and so we had on call, and then we like people were taking care of everything, and then we kind of created these postmortem to document what happened and put them into the inbox. And on Mondays we kind of randomly, like sometimes we knew somebody knows something already, and then we kind of put this into the right team. And sometimes we just randomly distributed them across teams because we wanted to have like not one team totally overwhelmed by postmortems and the others not. So we kind of try to evenly distribute. But since we grew and we also now have team on call, it's getting better into this kind of feedback loop, because we have the team on call, the team gets alerts, you can document your own postmortem, it can go right into the team afterwards. There's no need to wait until Mondays to start working on something that failed that you kind of deployed, right? It's not 100% there yet, because we still have the 24-hour on call. So we still have at nights that we create postmortems, and we kind of need to distribute them. But we already said a couple of months before that if you know the team and if you know the owner, please assign it to the team right away. There's no need to wait until Mondays until we start working on it, because we want to keep this feedback. You release something and something goes wrong, and you should get feedback as fast as possible that things are going not well. Or maybe a customer started using something that you have released, way before. But anyway, it's kind of related to the components that the team is developing and owning, and this is kind of the feedback loop that we create, how this is going, right? And then there's always a balance that you kind of need to find between what are the urgent things that you need to work on as a team and what are the important things to work on. And of course, we want to keep everything running. We don't want to drown in firefighting. We don't want to get woken up in the night. We don't want to get hit by the same issue again, because that's super annoying. Like getting paged every night. Like if I see the same alert and I'm like, oh, it's this cluster again, that's super frustrating, right? We don't want that. and we just kind of want to keep the operational debt low. Meaning, we want to have good alerts, we want to have dashboards, we want to have run books, those kind of things. So it's easy, right? And we don't get overrun by this. And sometimes, the easiest thing is to put some duct tape on it. But we also want to work on the long-term things, and we want to fix the real thing. And the important thing is creating value, both for the stability and reliability of the platform, and also in terms of features that the customers are requesting and so on. So we kind of always need to find this balance between. And to solve the urgency, we kind of decided early on, okay, Post Mortems get the highest priority. If Post Mortem comes into the team, it has the highest priority, because that's the most important thing to fix this now, because otherwise somebody gets woken up the next night. But I put on a 2 hours thing. I said, only if it takes 2 hours. But it doesn't mean, because I think that's a common misunderstanding, that postmortem should only take 2 hours. The thing is, I can only give a postmortem the highest priority in a team if I also think about the time, right? If a postmortem takes 3 months to solve and it only happens once every 6 months, it shouldn't have the highest priority in the team. Or the team should carefully think about that, right? That's why I put, like, I don't mind if it's 2 hours or 4 hours. I just want to make sure that if you're not able to solve it within a couple of hours, then sit down with your team and think how to solve it and what the priority is, because then it might not have the highest priority anymore. It might still have, and you might stop everything and work 3 weeks as a team on solving this issue, because it's happening every night. A customer reached a certain size of a cluster and now stuff is failing and it's super annoying. And yeah, we need to stop working on the things that we have planned before, and we need to prioritize it. But I want to have this as a conscious decision in the team, that you with your team are thinking about that. Hey, this is not a postmortem where you can quickly put some duct tape on or make better dashboards. It's going to take us longer because it's a bigger problem to solve. And then you can think, hey, there are other big things we have to work on. Which one is more important? Like, how often does it happen? And so on. So I think that's one of the confusion with the 2 hours that I wanted to clear out before we start the discussion, because it's not that every postmortem has to be solved in 2 hours. It's more about, if it takes longer than 2 hours, then it's maybe a regular item in your backlog that you need to think about what kind of priority does it have. And can we put a creative duct tape on it for now, so it doesn't like the urgency goes away, because like we don't want to get woken up next night, right? We need to put something on it, so or we need to write a run book or we need to do something to make it simpler for the people that are doing on call or get woken up in the night, right? But still, then you need to solve the overall issue, and it might take longer, and it might have a different priority than the highest priority. So that's kind of my take on why we have them and what I think about them. And happy to discuss what the current problems are, and maybe what does that work? What doesn't work? We're still drowning sometimes in issues, in pages. We don't have the metrics in Jurfix anymore, and I didn't create them, so I actually also don't have a clue how it went, because we kind of decided not to have the graphs in Jurfix anymore. I would actually be curious. I mean, we have the dashboards nowadays. I think they help. But also to see, like, are we doing good or are we doing bad, right? Do we, Monica? Do we already have some questions in the document?
Yes, I think it would have been good if we also have names. So maybe can someone like okay? I will
Can
read
you
the
share the
question.
doc?
I can.
I don't have the
Yes,
link.
I shared the doc in
No, I mean the
here.
screen. Yeah.
Ah, okay. I can share the screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. Can you see my screen? Okay, now it's happening.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will make it a bit bigger, just to be able to read it.
Yeah. The second bullet point is basically from me.
Okay.
Kind of related to, once again, the latest on call, but as Timo just explained, kind of the misunderstanding of the 2-hour rule, but still, I kind of personally feel that there are some problems that are occurring really, really frequently, and the overloaded node is one of them. That I fully understand that solving the problem properly takes probably really long, but at the same time, I really feel that it's something that would basically improve the quality of on-call a lot, because it's every single on-call shift when one needs to wake up on overloaded node, either on Shutterstock or on Adidas. And it doesn't help that we tell the solution engineers or the customer that you need to put the limits in place. They will never do that. But instead, we need to find a way how to configure the node such that no matter what the customer does, it will shoot themselves to the foot, but not us. That's kind of like my point there. And because of that, like, there are every now and then those post mortems that they really take a lot of time to work on. But from my point of view, I would see the value in doing that, even though it somehow costs quite a lot. But it's also really, really frustrating to see things over and over again.
Just one short thing. I absolutely agree with the only thing, there is no us versus them. If it shoots them in the foot, it shoots us in the foot, no matter what we do. The only solution we can find is that it shoots nobody in the foot.
Not really.
Doesn't help.
No. What I personally mean is that when the message to the original developer who creates the service never reaches that you need to configure the limits correctly, if they don't do that, they will then create an implementation that starwaits itself. I mean, they program something which doesn't work correctly. I mean, it already does that to some extent, but it seems to work well enough. But theoretically, the end result should be, for example, in this case, such that for them it works as right now, but for us, we wouldn't get paged.
Yeah, one example, Ollie, would be like there's a Prometheus running on the Shutterstock cluster, and sometimes it just consumes too much memory, and then it kind of kills the node. And the only problem that Shutterstock has, they maybe have a small gap in the Prometheus metrics, and they might not even care about that. And the system kind of repairs itself, or we need to shoot or reboot the node. But we get paged for it, and they have no impact. Not really a big impact. At least not big enough so that they are going to change anything, even though the solution engineers talk to them, or it takes them, I don't know how many weeks but we still getting paged, and we are worried if we kind of mute the page that we miss something else. I mean, Joe has worked in a direction where we have the service level that helps already. But so far we didn't have really good ways how we deal with those issues, and they always come back.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. We should definitely think about it and maybe create a special work group. I don't know what, but the thing is multifaceted. One solution might be customers shouldn't run their own setup. Stuff like that we run with our stuff as a service.
I think we can go into this a bit too far, right? Like
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like it's we need to
sure.
think about, like, with these topics. I think we need to solve these topics because it makes absolutely no sense that each night somebody wakes up twice for an overloaded node that isn't our fault. Doesn't make sense. Period.
I think that the difference might be that we used to think that needed to be done in a PM. Actually, that's going to take more than 2 hours, so it needs to be a story that's part of a team, and that's how we actually solve that problem going forwards.
And that probably needs like Timo or me and talking to the customer. And
I mean, hopefully we don't need to talk to the customer.
Yeah,
Hopefully it's just something we do on the technical side and tell the story. That's up to the team.
There's still one thing that I see is I would really like to have team on call 24 hours, because then you can define the priority of the things that you get woken up by. Because I also see the problem that you get woken up, the postmortem is in a different team, you are not involved in the discussion how the priority is about it, and they decide otherwise because they, I don't know, need to implement something really important for the customer, for a customer, whatever, and it's not getting to get solved, and you get frustrated because you're on call in a different team, right?
Just for the agenda, 24-hour team on call would be separate to how we solve overloaded nodes, right?
Yeah, no, sure. Maybe overloaded nodes just a symptom of that problem.
What Timo means, the overloaded nodes comes into the right team, and that team needs to solve the overloaded node, and it's not cross-team, then it gets a higher
if it's
likelihood.
cross-team, we need to have the communication. If it's not cross-team, then we don't have to worry so much about communication.
Well, they will just say, okay, I don't want to get woken up as a team, so I'm solving that now, period. Otherwise, it's like the other team will solve that or not. Maybe I'll get woken up again.
I mean, 24 hours on call still has its logistical problems, right?
Yeah, I know. We haven't solved it, but it's still a direction I want to go to. But it's not easy. I know.
Yeah. My thinking is let's try not to assume that we have to have 24/7 on call.
Yeah, no, we don't.
Yeah.
We need to find something that is different from a post-mortem that solves stuff that is big enough to be.
It's a story in a team.
Yeah.
I have a question.
I think it's a story in a team. Yeah.
I have a question. It might be completely wrong. So for postmortems that take longer than 2 hours, in Timo's theory, it doesn't mean we shouldn't work on it, but that we should discuss as a team if it should be highest priority. From Thomas' feedback, it seems he's saying if it takes a long time to fix, it does not get prioritized as a team. That's why it needs to be dragged on longer as a postmortem, or is that wrong?
Well, based on longer experience, it varies a lot how much priority different postmortems get.
Got it.
Yeah.
My takeaway from this is it seems there's a mismatch on the assessment of what's valuable and important. Like maybe as product owner, I have a very fucked up understanding of what is important and not. Like there's a kind of what is more important, roadmap story or reliability and improving ops lives. This is kind of my takeaway.
So I don't become fucked up. That's why I'm still doing on-call, because I suffer with everybody. No, operate, how to escalate postmortems. Like how can we do this? Like how can we look at this and do a recap of the week and then like make it clearer for everyone? Like, hey, we're suffering. Like we're getting paged during the night. It's always the same thing. It's this postmortem. Please, let's get creative. How can we solve this?
I
We
think-
have Ollie.
Just quick, I think the escalation problem fits because it also fits to solution engineering to a certain extent. I think that is what is sometimes driving the problem. It's that, for example, in this case, and I can give another case for solution engineering, like you have an overloaded node and it becomes a postmortem, then, well, it's the application of the customer. So it gets handed to solution engineering and they talk to the customer and then it somehow fizzles away. You know, I recently said that like we have a problem with security rights for our operator at Shutterstock, and it's been like that for weeks, if not months, because it's sometimes we ask and then it like takes time and then it fizzles away. Certain things we need to say, okay, this has been going on, so it's now going to get to a solution that is written down in 2 weeks. That might be we're not doing anything, or we're doing something and it gets to become a story. And it gets worked on and gets priority, but there needs to be some decision. At the moment, this kind of thing just seems to fizzle out. Like it is important, and then it fizzles, and then sometimes it's gone. That's a gut feeling. You know, we ask the customer, and they, yeah, we're doing it, and we ask again, and yeah, we're doing it next week, and then we stop asking, and then the team stops asking, and then, yeah, overloaded nodes suck. You know? Maybe we just need a page somewhere that says the overloaded nodes problem is that problem, we know about it, it's either getting solved or not. And if it's getting solved, it has a priority idea.
Maybe we can just agree that instead of like prioritizing postmortems which take less than 2 hours to solve, we prioritize postmortems that might wake up people in the night, because like this is what sucks, and then it will solve the problem of prioritizing.
Yeah, what I wanted to ask is if we have a pretty graph that can show how often we actually wake up for a given problem, because then we could maybe see, hey, here's problem X, and 15 people woke up over the last 36 hours. I don't know, right? This is very important to solve now.
I mean, to some degree, once we've just got an issue for it, it's up to the product owner to work out how to prioritize it, right? Like, I don't think we have to work out how we do that now, because we're going to have to iterate on that, and there's going to be like 16 different ways. But I think we will kind of get, maybe we're not prioritizing the reliability issues as much as we could be, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
May I ask product owners a question? I mean, we have at least 3 of them here.
Sure.
Are you aware of this when you take things into account, when you kind of take things into planning? Is this a parameter that you take into account?
For me,
Not
yes.
enough.
Like if something wakes up people in the night, it gets the highest priority. All other PMs, we do prioritize together with all other roadmap issues, at least in Atlas, because if like there are things that are postmortems, but they just don't worth the effort because they happen, I don't know, once in 6 months or less.
Cool, thanks.
I would say not enough. If I know it's waking up people, yes, of course, but I often don't know, and never occurred to me to ask, hey, did this wake you up? How many times?
Okay, that's a good point.
But also I agree with Team on Call 24 hours that it will probably help, because we do prioritize postmortems, like which are our alerts. That, for example, we have not great on call in Biscuit lately, so we like decided to sort out all Biscuit alerts and make it awesome, and it is highest priority for.
Do we have a board where postmortems go to die and just hang, and like these we know about that, but we're not fixing it now because, and it's in there, and then it gets a count or something.
Yeah, they're on product board and in support board.
But in Teams backlogs as well.
I'm just wondering if they shouldn't be in backlogs, if they just shouldn't be somewhere else where because the problem seems to be we have stuff that occur again and again, and that somebody has already decided to not to work on. And the question is, where do we see that it happens too much again? Is it just a gut feeling? Like overloaded nodes, we know, but maybe there are others that happen once every 3 weeks. It's not really big, but right now it has happened 60 times over the last 2 years.
So usually it's not ideal process, but usually if like good citizenship and colors, they write a comment to Post Mortem if it's already exist, if they got paged for this issue.
Actually, I mean, I know we said that 24-hour on-call is probably just out of scope, but is that really the only way this gets fixed? Because without 24 team on-call, the team doesn't end up having that institutional knowledge of these problems happened, right? Because the actual problem is actually, hey, overloaded nodes happen. I'm not writing notes and PMs anymore. Who is doing that, right?
Yeah. Another problem of the on-call, the overall on-call is the rotation, because like, it's only 1 day every 2 weeks. So people suffer, and then they're in different topics again from the next day on. So if you only take care of your own team alerts and postmortems, I think that the scope is much smaller, and you live with it every day, kind of, and so the quality will also be better, right? That's why I would like to go in that direction, but we discussed in SURS about the 24-hour on-call, and I don't know. We can open up the discussion again, but we couldn't find a really good solution for now.
In Halo, we're trying to establish a system. So something that will tell us what should we be paged for to begin with. So if customer cares about something, if we didn't set up alert for that, they will tell us via support, and that will also create a postmortem. So sources of postmortems are coming from customers reporting issues that they care about in the system that we didn't handle well, but also from us. So far, it was more reactive. We guess about something that might be important to alert for, and that wakes us up, like kubelet is down. So who cares about kubelet is down? So like that's not really. So we try and connect the customer what they really care about, and come up with how much they care about it, and then determine when should we be paged for, what should we be alarming, and then we try to measure how good are we at doing that. So that will help us determine are our investments right of effort or not, and if we are also over-investing into something. So if we don't measure, it will be just based on gut feelings. And having gut feelings as a decision criteria, we get into this messy situation like everyone can interpret. You also need to have somebody that owns it as a mission. I think it helps. So just spreading it out, oh, there is a whole team doing something, I think that's not really good approach. Then it's everybody and nobody. So we're trying to set up squads, at least for the apps, but also it would be really good to have proper SRE. So not SRE in name only, but SRE, somebody that has as a duty, first mission, reliability of the system or part of the system they are owning, the team is owning. Without that, everybody owns it, nobody hands it. There are challenges even with such approaches, like scoping to the teams or to sub-teams or whoever, like individuals, to own certain aspects. Some problems are wider, and we are challenging like this kubelet issue. It's not AWS provider team, it's not KVM provider team, it's not Azure provider team, it's all CAS teams. It's fundamental Kubernetes issue of lack of isolation between workloads. So it's non-trivial thing to solve. It cannot be done in 2 hours. So it requires architecture, it requires like design, like trying to build a platform on top of Kubernetes that makes things isolated so we don't get paged for customer shooting themselves into foot. We say we don't want to prevent them from doing that. That's fine, but they shouldn't also wake us up. We need to set up a self-regulating system. Also, like if we dedicate somebody to own reliability of the system, if they get overloaded, there should be like thresholds, like how many post-mortem somebody should be paged about in a shift, so that they can actually handle them, have them ensure that they get go through all the phases. If you get thousands of pages, you will just prioritize on your own, and everybody else will not care about it. So we need self-regulating system so that everything that overloads, it falls back to even developers, so that are not participating in on-call shifts, so that the until the system is reliable again. So aligning the incentives and making self-regulating system is not an easy task, and like focusing just on a post-mortem, it's piece of the larger puzzle. And I think it goes to the fundamentals of our company, where we sell our unique selling point compared to the other ones, is that we not only offer open source all this shit they could run themselves, but we also carry a pager. So what do we carry pager for? And how do we also, so how do we invest into carrying the pager well? And how do we also sell it to the customer that we are doing this well? So we need to market it as well properly, so we get also the proper funding and investment. So it's all one big system that we need to establish, and just one meeting on the postmortem, I think, is not enough. This is just a symptom of a bigger cause. So yeah, thank you for listening.
Did we consider in Zers, because I just don't remember Zers at all, per area 24 on calls? Like, we don't have the people to do teams.
Yeah.
I know this fucks us. Snejana.
No.
I know I said this fucks us, Snejana. But that gets us closer to a feedback loop between your teams.
To be together in area with ludicrous is not fun.
Snejana, we just moved Biscuit into empowerment. That's the trick, right? But I think we have enough people to do 24-hour in areas. Yeah, and that would be a step towards, because we just need more people, right? Like, that's the big issue with per team 24 hours, is we don't have enough people in the teams. We probably have enough people in the area, and that gets us to a point where we can start actually doing, like post-mortem feedback loops and stuff like this a bit better.
But I think the reason we want it in the team, because the team is self-reliant. Once we have area, we have the same problem as before, it's just smaller. It needs to end up in the team. Right?
Not necessarily. So a post-mortem can reveal multiple issues. That's another challenge if we want to focus on just filing a post-mortem.
The thing needs to end up in the team. I read the SRE book and handing back the pager and so on and so forth, but we have developers and SREs handling on-call, and we don't have only SREs. And I get the point. But the question is, what is our problem? And the only problem at this moment that we're talking about is stuff that isn't clearly in the team.
No. So like overloaded nodes, for example, right now, it's very easy for everyone who's not in cast to be like, oh, this is a cast problem, I don't have to care about it, right? And like everyone in managed apps probably just feels a bit burnt by those alerts because it's not their area, like, at all. Yeah. And like, sure, we'd like to get to a point, we'd like to get to a point where teams are super, I am these alerts and this is my problem, right? We don't have the people for that right now, but somewhere in between is, hey, managed apps runs a schedule. They're only having to deal with the managed apps issues. They know the teams better. They know the people better. And CAS, oh yeah, hey, we're getting these overloaded nodes. Everyone in CAS knows that if they don't work out in the area, sure, there's still more team interactions, but there's less than the entire company.
But meaning it's like 2-3 areas. It's managed apps and it's CAS, and then it's pretty much ends.
Well, sure, we've also got Power, that's the area.
I have a observation because the meeting is called Philosophy of Postmortems, so I kind of want to bring it back to like, what is a postmortem? And I think maybe part of the problem that we're seeing is that when I think about a postmortem, like I was like, what is it really? What is really a postmortem? It's kind of like a request from someone to do something it's like a delegation request almost, right? It's like, hey, here's a problem, someone else fix it, right? Is that kind of what the postmortem is communicating?
Not
So-
always.
So it's opportunity to learn.
I'm creating postmortems for own team, like everyone does.
I think it's a delegation if it's not your area, right? And I think that's kind of where things get weird. Because if it's not your area, you're sort of trying to find these other people, find these PMs, and keep going, hey, we have this pain. I think if it's inside your team, it's not a delegation because it's your fucking
Okay.
Yeah.
But then it's you make your own issue and then it's delegated to yourself, right? And you're checking in on it yourself. So I think part of where it goes wrong is that step where it's being delegated and then it's not being checked up on anymore. I think just because you've created an issue and someone else supposedly will take care of it, it shouldn't be something that you can remove from your mind. You're still kind of the responsible.
I totally agree. And I think the issue is that we have those. Someone has to make a postmortem for your problem, right? Like we want to, the people who's creating the PMs and having to deal with the pages should be the people who fix it, not another person who doesn't have to do that tomorrow because they're only on call once every 18 days.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't think we can solve the on-call next step in this meeting. I would rather say, hey, who's taking the head, and maybe in SecOps process, write down a proposal and get some feedback from everyone, how we are going to, like, what's the next step in that direction. So we actually also try to fix the root cause and not only the symptom. And then maybe there are a few things like where we can just make the symptoms easier for now because we don't have a 24 hours team on call yet, and it will take some time until we're there, just to take away some frustration now.
And can we have a about the overloaded nodes, because we've been talking about those for 2 years? Like, can we get them to a state where it's written down that it's not being fixed or that it's being fixed? Or is it just something we want to talk about for the next 2 years? Because that is not new. We've been talking about overloaded nodes for ages.
And I think we have done.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I think we have done some steps towards that. I mean, for example, I was working in the service SLA budgets, so yeah, budgets. I don't remember.
Yeah, but like, do we actually have a story in some team that's about like node resilience?
We have it written down somewhere where it says we're not doing anything anymore. Then we don't need to talk about it. That could also be a solution. Or do we have it in the team and it's now next 2 weeks? You get to a state of either solved or it's written down that we're not solving it. Otherwise, we're talking about it again. That's my question. I mean, it's obviously a problem.
In which team is that issue?
Can we also think about different duct tape solutions, like automatically rebooting something? So
yeah, we can. I think we can think about a lot of things, but it needs to get to a state where it's done.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
not done. It's
In which team is this issue?
no team. It's been handed left and right, and it's in the air across teams.
Can we put
The
it in
problem with software engineering is that thing to be done means that the thing is no longer like it's out of the. You're not using it anymore. So things can be are always failing and in different ways.
I've put a note into the product board that we find somewhere for this. We make sure that we have whatever we need for it, just to get out of this message meeting.
Good.
Overloading nodes, the epic. Where is it?
And the other thing is, do we need a more specific written down thing for this handing back the pages that Steve talked about towards the customer? Do we as solution engineers need to formalize that with the customer, that we like we already, theoretically, we have it in newer contracts. If we say, if we told a customer something 3 times and they still didn't fix it, then it's no longer our problem. It obviously still is our problem. It will still happen. We will not turn off alerting and we will not stop caring. Will not happen. We just, like with Adidas, we just said we need a red flag. Like, you need to move, and you need to move. Red flag is like you need to move now and drop everything. Like, do we need to do something as solution engineers to get that thing different? Do we need to increase the priority there? Do we need a red flag system of saying, like, you fix that now or it's doomsday?
My issue with doing a lot of these like problems on the customer side is we can fix Adidas's team X that problem, right? And then the next 3 customers, they could just do the same thing. And if we don't have the solution in the product, we just face the same problem again, right? So I think most of the time, you know, we've seen these the Prometheus servers on Shutterstock, and like the first thing we want to do is be like, hey, Shutterstock, sort your fucking shit out. But we need to support Shutterstock having that problem and the next 3 customers who will all run empty Prometheus servers, right? Because otherwise we're having to educate every customer from zero.
Once we fix Shutterstock, like the next thing appears at browser stuff, like we have the same problem again.
You know, you're hitting the thing.
I'm taking with me that we need to make sure that customers understand that we can't support stuff that they break. And we need to figure out a way in solution engineering. We have working hours this afternoon to like how we communicate about that.
Just as a side note, but with the kind of mindset that we had from the beginning, we want to allow customers to do everything that they want to, and not kind of say like, hey, empty deer is not allowed anymore or something like that, right? We would rather put fences on that we're not getting alerted, or this doesn't do any harm to the system, but not disallowing them and kind of, I don't know, removing stuff from the Kubernetes API just because that has some risk to break things, right?
Then solution engineering can write a feature request saying like, customer whatever needs MTDF for this reason and whatnot, and like we need to either not be alerted or have it as a feature, or I don't know what, you know. We at least need to talk about the customer, talk to the customer. We are getting woken up each and every night because you're doing X. Do you need to do X?
No, we're saying we specifically shouldn't have to talk to the customer, right? If a customer does something that could break the system, we need to fix the system, not fix the customer, because the customers should be able to do whatever they want.
Okay, but then I want to understand why the customer does it, so I want to understand why.
Oh, sure. It does make sense to talk to the customer.
At best, we have an automated feedback loop to the customer that the customer is doing something wrong without us to get paged and woken up and everything, and automatically just giving good feedback to the customer.
Absolutely. Okay, understood. Yeah.
So, Ollie, what I think there, for example, like with the empty DIRs, if you've trashed the node, it automatically reboots. And so the customers start going, hey, whenever we use empty dir and we fill up the node, it reboots. And we say, oh, yeah, fix this problem. That's what I kind of think with that.
Mm-hmm. And we as solution engineers should be notified that node rebooted because of empty dir. If we want to tell the customer, otherwise he'll learn himself.
Yeah, but that, in my opinion, we are really good with automation, and what I see is we are doing still in operations a lot of manual tasks. Like, for example, this node overloading, almost everyone is doing the same, like checking the node, see what is overloading, and at some point rebooting the node, or maybe first rebooting Docker and then the node, or kubelet. And then for MTD, partially it's the same. When there is an issue that is so recurrent and maybe the measures of the runbook is kind of the same for everyone, why cannot automate that? Like, there is already some tooling there that are doing things like that. I was thinking that maybe we need to automate some of the alerts, like some of the runbooks that we have.
Quentin and I had a project during Hackathon to automate some of the runbooks. So we started with adding some subcommands to obctl, and the next step was the idea was to have something like an operator to do that. So, and I was thinking to raise that again in SigOps process maybe, so, and to actually continue working on it. So if somebody is interested, we could pick it up.
And like other examples are like, I think Václav did something with Hackathon as well, with like terminating in AWS nodes that become not ready, right? So we don't even see these problems. Like we can automate all this away. I really fucking hope so.
Are we already in the change of your monitoring? I remember your monitoring demo with like the different measurements that see problems.
Yeah, we got rid of like kubelet down like a while ago, but we're still like, it's now an Atlas story to start sort of how we help the rest of the teams with that kind of SLA alerting.
Okay.
So in progress.
One comment about general postmortems philosophy. When we talk about postmortems and how much time they take, we also talk about solving the underlying issue, find the root cause, fixing it so it doesn't happen again. But I think that part of the postmortem should be determining steps that should be taken to fix the issue and not fixing it, actually. So one of the outputs of the postmortem should be like a bunch of issues that are describing what should be fixed. And with that, postmortem should be completed, in my opinion. So then we have stories, we have bug fixes or whatever that are fixing a bunch of things. And once all of those are completed, the underlying issue that was causing the alert will be fixed. So if we have like, I don't know, 5 issues or 10 or 15 that are coming out of a postmortem, maybe it would be easier to spread it across teams and to prioritize and actually get the shit done. Because currently it's like there is like one postmortem and it may be like a big thread on GitHub and information is scattered around and there are like no specific action items that people will take and solve.
Yeah, I didn't thought about the cross team thing, and I think that's a very valid point. Otherwise, I would have said I would just leave that open to the team to decide like how they are going to do that. Like the team could say like, hey, we're going to close the postmortem, we put some duct tape on it, and these are the follow-up issues, and they have different priorities. This one is super important, and the other ones we're going to fix, but it's going to take us 3 months or whatever. Yeah, I'm super fine with that, but you touched the point of cross team, and I think there it is really important. Like if because the postmortem usually lands in one team, and if then the team discovers that there are other issues related to this or that are actually in a responsibility of another team, then yeah, definitely you need to create issues and make the team aware of that. Yeah.
That's why I think, like Joe mentioned, and that's what guidance I'm following. He is the king of process. Like anything that caused operational load should result in a postmortem. So regardless if it was mitigated already or not. So I file postmortem even when it's mitigated, but sometimes it's not mitigated. So I assign teams based on who should mitigate the issue. But I leave suggestions when I file a postmortem. I leave suggestions that can cross multiple teams, and then I expect somebody that's handling the postmortem, like mitigating at least, to also create a side effect for their team and for maybe other teams additional issues in the backlog. So something that's not mitigation. So postmortem handling should be. Ideally, there should be a meeting around it so we can gather as much as input so we can learn from the incident and have the teams pull into their team backlogs like learnings from the incident into the backlog. But immediate mitigation can be done by one team or maybe even multiple. So there's part of immediate mitigation if needed or not, plus part of follow-up learnings. And these learnings, I think because lots of times post-mortem file was treated as a bug report. All the suggestions that were direct to the team or not even to other teams would be just ignored lots of time. So that's, I think, a failure in the process where we would lose opportunity to learn from post-mortem. So we need to set up a system. So when there is a post-mortem, whether there's a mitigation or not, how to handle the mitigation, who does it, like if it involves multiple teams, how to organize it, and also how to learn from the incident, optimize the learning, but still not, we are not academic institution, we're economic, so we need to balance. But I think the balance, shifting it to bug handling only, and one immediate one that's most obvious, I think that's too narrow. That causes the issue to reoccur again, and we just cause more pain from this. So yeah, maybe in ops process we can start with a document, list how we currently handle this process, and see what are the opportunities. How can we improve so that issues don't? Yeah, you can never prevent. That's not the goal. Prevent issue from ever occurring again. I think the ultimate goal is to raise the capacity that we can deal with the issues. And one approach is to learn from the incidents when they happen. So we need to optimize for learning. And also Oshrat's initiative and others initiatives for sharing post-mortem stories is also a good one on this. So yeah, at least yeah, share the knowledge and increasing capacity.
Yeah, related to that, I believe we should somehow formalize a bit more the RCA part of the postmortem. So we do the proper root cause analysis. So the person who is opening postmortem should not be doing that, but the team that is assigned. So the team does the postmortem, the root cause analysis. While doing that, a list of issues and tasks will arise probably. So new action items will be created, and those action items can stay within the team, or maybe it will get spread across multiple teams. But I have a feeling that we more than often like overlook the root cause analysis and do not do it, and everything just stops at like duct taping and mitigation, and maybe some comments, like a slight analysis and comments on GitHub, and like things get closed.
That's why I think having somebody or a team owning the ops process. So SIG is not the way to deal with stuff. At least there it is to share. I don't know. I didn't see it working properly. Like a topic important like this, I think it needs somebody to have a mission of this, and SIGs are not that. So SIGs meet rarely, and based on like nobody's like actively looking into it every day. Not as their primary cause. It's more like a afterthought, and like when you already heard too much. And yeah, I think it deserves founding a team around this, if not at least a single person, to have this as ops process improvements as their mission.
In terms of time, we might have to cut this a little bit.
Yeah, one comment, or maybe two comments. First of all, to say that something doesn't work via SIG, we should first try it in SIG, because there were no issues in SIG like for a long time, so no one raises any questions or discussions about that, and I don't remember like this kind of wider discussions regarding postmortems there.
I didn't see that it could be solved in the SIG, so I didn't.
No, it's not about solving in the SIG. It's about raising it and talking about that, so we can clearly state that it is bigger than SIG and it should go into team. And but we didn't have this discussion. But my main comment was about the stuff you, Theo, and talked about that we are mixing too many things into postmortem, and that's why we have this postmortem bug. We treat them as the same, and then we don't have this every time, this root cause analysis, because we do that only for customer-related issues. But then maybe it makes sense to split it somehow. For example, is this the incident when someone forgot to delete his branch of AWS operator or whatever, and that breaks some testing? Is it postmortem, or is it incident? Is it requires root cause analysis in the same way as something which broke customer production cluster? Those are like by nature two different things, And if we will have many things with different level of impact on the customer, then we cannot have single procedure to treat them all in the same way, because different types of issues require different type of explanation and deeper level of investigation.
There is a challenge. How do you categorize? So
yeah, exactly. Like if it had a customer impact, I'd also like an RCA to be there. If it doesn't, then no.
Do we have an issue for SIGOP process for different categorizations?
Yeah, we can talk about it today as we have SIG.
I think that's where most of these issues are going, aren't they?
We have 1 minute left. Can we sum up the action points? So there is a SIG-op processing today. There will be discussion about Team on Call 24, right?
Team on Call 24.
And the issue for different types of postmortems and how to address them. Then we will create an issue for SIG product for nodes issue, and next SIG product sync we will decide which team it will go. We all agree that postmortems that wake up people at night should have the highest priority. And something else?
And I've added something to Atlas to improve the alert analysis dashboards, so we have when we're getting paged, right?
Yeah, cool.
So just numbers, but not whens.
Yeah.
The other thing that needs highest priorities, what Ollie mentioned, is things that persistently annoy customers. For example, the overloaded nodes.
Yeah, that's the handing back the pager discussion. Maybe that's also something for SIG ops process or for SIG customer happiness. Who is going to take this?
Handing back the page, I can gladly be in SIG customer happiness.
So you start thinking about that. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
This was a superb meeting. Holy shit. Holy shit, so calm. We have action items.
Maybe one more thing.
No, Nicola, we almost finished on time.
That's good.
15 seconds, I promise.
At least turn off the recording if he has to say something.
But
I just think,
Nicola, there is an issue in Atlas about improving runbooks, and yeah, and I think it also includes automating them.
Cool.
At some point.
He still wants to say something.
He's always got.
Yeah, sorry.
Nijana was just shutting it down now.
People being woken up during the night should be clear about it and should not shy away from saying that they got pissed off because they were woken up. So we need more transparency. Be loud.
We need another meeting about ops. We need another meeting about hero culture, ops, and whatever. Second thing. Still needs to.
Who's driving that?
Timo.
Thanks, Timo.
Thanks, Timo.
Enjoy.
Thank you. Bye.
See you later, folks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.